Hi, I'm Alison Durand.
And I'm Kayla Titus.
And we'll be doing our presentation today on Changing Families in a Changing Society, Chapter 8.
I hope you enjoy our presentation. Traditionally, families consisted of a mom, a dad, and their children. The mom would stay home and take care of the children, and the father would go to work. This is a picture of Alison's family, who fits perfectly with the representation of a traditional family.
There are 6 types of changing families. This includes divorced families, step families, working parents, adoption, gay and lesbian parents, and culture and ethnicity.
Adolescence adjustment in divorced families. Adolescents from divorced families were more likely to act out, have anxiety or depression, have lower self-esteem, have a difficult time forming relationships, and in some cases turn to alcohol or drug abuse to heal their pain. In a study done by E. Mavis Hetherington and her colleagues, 25% of children from divorced families had emotional problems, but that figure decreased in 20% in emerging adulthood. In this same study, 10% of those children and emerging adults from non-divorced families had emotional problems. Another study was done that may lead to the conclusion that it might not be the actual divorce that is causing the distress in adolescents and emerging adults. It may be the incidents that lead up to that divorce, like the constant fighting and negativity. This shows why some people from non-divorced families have emotional problems, because they may have the conflict in their lives, but their parents are not getting divorced. Emotion security theory, which is similar to attachment theory, is children appraise marital conflict in terms of their sense of security and safety in the family. They can distinguish between a conflict that is positive, meaning a calm discussion of each person's perspective and working together to reach a solution, or negative, which means hostile and destructive tactics. Research states that preschool students whose parents have divorced are at greater risk for long-term problems. The reason for this is their inability to determine the causes and consequences of divorce. They may feel abandoned by their other parent. They may blame themselves for the divorce. Children benefit from joint custody rather than just mother or father custody. Another factor involved in adjustment is relocation.
Step families. This would be Kayla's family. Her parents are both remarried, giving her a stepmom and a stepdad, along with 3 stepbrothers and 2 stepsisters. This is the perfect example of a typical step family. There are 3 types of step families. This includes stepfather, where the mother has custody and got remarried, introducing a stepfather; stepmother, where the father had custody and got remarried, introducing a stepmother; and blended or complex, where both parents bring children from previous marriages and become a new step family. The example of Kayla's family shown earlier would be a blended or complex family, because when both of her parents remarried, they both had kids prior to their marriage, creating a new step family. One aspect of a step family that makes adjustment difficult is boundary ambiguity. This is the uncertainty of who is in or out of the family and who is performing or responsible for certain tasks in the family system. Bray and his colleagues researched that the formation of a step family often meant that adolescents had to move, and this move involved changing schools and friends. It took time for the step-parent to get to know their stepchildren or stepchild. The step-parent had to deal with a new relationship and the challenges it may bring, as well as how to parent together. Bray also found that the biological parent should do all of the disciplining for the first little while. The step-parent needs to get to know the child and develop a positive relationship before disciplining.
The working parent. More than 1 of every 2 U.S. moms with a child under the age of 5 is in the labor force. The thing that matters most to the adolescents is the nature of the work the parent does, not whether or not one parent works outside the home. The reason this affects the children is their poor work conditions are brought home with them, and it affects how their attitudes are towards their children. For example, they become irritable and less engaged parents. An interesting finding is that children, especially girls of working mothers, engage in less gender stereotyping and have more egalitarian views of gender. Latchkey children typically don't see their parents from the time they leave for school until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. The term latchkey is from the way the children/adolescents has their own house key. These adolescents are linked to drug and alcohol abuse, delinquency, and school problems, but that is not to say that every latchkey adolescent feels this way. Each latchkey child has their own experiences and how they handle those experiences.
Adoption. A number of changes have characterized adopted children and adoptive parents in the last 3 to 4 decades. In the first half of the 20th century, most adopted children were healthy Caucasian infants. Their parents were also Caucasian, came from middle-upper-class families, were married, and had no disabilities. In recent decades, fewer of these children are available due to contraception and abortion. The parents come from a wide range of backgrounds, and there are no set income requirements. Overall, there still needs to be more research done as to whether or not these changing demographic characteristics of the parents affect the adolescent or not. In result, today many adopted children come from a wide range of cultures, ethnicities, present a range of mental, physical problems, or have received neglect or abuse. Overall, regardless of the parental conditions, it is still proven that children and adolescents who are adopted very early in life are more likely to have positive outcomes than those adopted later in life. Adopted children and adolescents are more likely to have psychological and school problems. A meta-analysis revealed that adoptees were far more likely than their counterparts to use mental health services. They are more likely to have behavioral problems, a learning disability, and to illicit drugs and delinquent behaviors. On the positive side of adoption, the majority of these children adjust effectively. Their parents have considerable satisfaction. There is no difference in self-esteem compared to a non-adopted child. There is no difference between transracial and same-race adoptees, and they are less likely to be withdrawn from drugs and more likely to engage in more pro-social behaviors. Overall, adopted children and adolescents fare much better than those in long-term foster care or institutionalized environments.
Gay and lesbian parents. There may be more than 1 million gay and lesbian parents in the U.S. today. They use an increase of donor insemination, adoption, and in vitro fertilization. There are no differences in the adjustment or mental health of adolescents in these families compared to heterosexual parents. Majority of adolescent children still have a heterosexual orientation, and many have lost custody of their children to their heterosexual spouse after divorce. The largest group of adolescents with gay and lesbian parents are likely those born in heterosexual relationships, and parents only later identify their sexual identity.
Culture and ethnicity. There are many cross-cultural variations in parenting. Cultures vary on a number of issues involving families, such as what the father's role in the family should be, the extent to which support systems are available to families, and how children should be disciplined. A study in 186 cultures showed that the most common pattern was a warm and controlling parenting style. The truth amongst the majority of cultures was that children and adolescent healthy social development is most effectively promoted by love and some moderate parental control. In Arab countries, an authoritarian parenting style dominated by father's rule is most common. Recent trends show that greater family mobility, migration to urban areas, family members working in distant areas, smaller families, fewer extended family households, and an increase in mothers' employment is most common. Ethnic minority families differ in size, structure, composition, reliance on kinship networks, and level of income and education. These types of families are more likely to have large and extended families, interact with relatives, come from low-income families, have single-parent families, where these single-parent households have more limited resources of time, money, and energy. This then prompts parents to encourage autonomy among their adolescents prematurely. They have less educated parents and less joint decision-making, greater emphasis on family duties and obligations, and have greater family interdependence. How ethnic minority families deal with stress depends on many factors, such as whether the parents are native-born or immigrants, how long the family has been in the country, socioeconomic status, and national origin. Protecting ethnic minority youth. The community and family can filter out destructive racist messages by showing alternate frames of reference, being role models, providing encouragement, and acting as a buffer system. The extended family system in many ethnic minority families provides as an important buffer system to this stress.
Remember, we live in a changing society with changing families. Thank you for watching our presentation.
The end.